Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. Would you please give a very warm welcome to President Xi Jinping of China.
今天，我们再次非常荣幸地邀请到了中华人民共和国国家主席习近平阁下莅临工商领导人峰会，并发表主旨演讲。去年，在习近平主席阁下领导和主持下，北京。
His Excellency President Xi Jinping, the Beijing APEC leaders meeting achieved fruitful results which produced a profound impact on Asia-Pacific cooperation. We clearly remember it was exactly at the keynote speech at the opening ceremony of the CEO Summit last year that President Xi Jinping called on members to
打造开放型亚太
Asia-Pacific partnership and build an open Asia economic system and explored the new drivers of economic growth to achieve Asia-Pacific dream. This has been warmly received by the business community of Asia-Pacific. 1 year after, we look forward to hearing from His Excellency President Xi Jinping on his views on the cooperation of Asia-Pacific region and the development and future direction. China is now drawing up the 13th five-year development plan. This concerns on China's economic growth prospect and also produce a major impact on Asia-Pacific and world development. What kind of new development methods will there be in China for the next 5 years? What new measures will be taken and what new opportunities will be created for Asia-Pacific economic and development?
现在，让我们以热烈的掌声欢迎习近平主席阁下发表主旨演讲。
Use the warmest applause to welcome President Xi Jinping to deliver a keynote speech. Mr. Chairman Tony Tan Kai-chung, all business leaders from the Asia-Pacific, ladies and gentlemen, friends, good morning. It is my great pleasure to see you once again. Last November, we gathered in Beijing and discussed together the thinkings and the measures to advance Asia-Pacific cooperation on the economy, and I have a fresh memory on the scenes of that meeting and that day. The APEC is the most important economic and trade forum in our region. It is also the multilateral cooperation platform in which Asia-Pacific business communities are mostly deeply involved. We are now living in an age of transformation, and both political leaders and entrepreneurs need to focus on the present while keeping an eye on the future in order to stay on top of the global trends and adapt to the changing world. 2 days ago, I attended the G20 summit in Antalya of Turkey. At the meeting, world leaders had in-depth discussions on the major challenges facing the global economy, as well as on the ways to deal with these challenges. The basic view that leaders came to share is that the global economy, which is on a course of slow recovery, is not yet solidly based and is still fraught with considerable destabilizing factors and uncertainties. Many countries expressed worries that the divergence of the monetary policies in advanced economies might lead to disorderly capital flows, high global indebtedness, and low market confidence. And all of this, together with the fluctuations in the global financial and commodity markets, will exert a greater impact on emerging markets and developing countries in general. The global growth continues to fall short of the expectations, with sliding trend of potential growth rates and weak international trade and investment activities. The world economy might encounter simultaneous slowdown of multiple growth engines and stagnate. It will probably take a long and tortuous process before the less than healthy global economy becomes healthy again. It is against this backdrop of the multiple challenges on the world economy that the Asia-Pacific economy is also confronted with many immediate as well as potential difficulties and challenges. How to keep the Asia-Pacific economy on the right track, and how to find new growth areas and strengthen the Asia-Pacific's status as a growth engine. These are questions which merit close attention and serious exploration. Facing the precarious rapids and shoals in the world economy, we must steer the giant ship of this Asia-Pacific economy in the right direction. And all economies in the region of Asia-Pacific must act in a responsible manner and work in unison to promote global growth. First of all, we must press ahead with reform and innovation. To address the deep-seated problems in the world economy, monetary stimulus policies alone are not enough. We must commit ourselves to even greater efforts to advance economic structural reform so that the supply and demand system will better adapt to the changing pattern of demand. This is an area where the Asia-Pacific can take the lead in the world by adopting new approaches, models, and pathways of development. Efforts should also be made to expedite the industrial upgrading so that science and technology innovation will create new products, management and business models, and move Asia-Pacific economies up the global supply chain. And this will enable us to jointly build and benefit from a coordinated, open, and inclusive global value chain. And while the developed economies need to be more forthcoming about sharing best practices and transferring technologies, developing economies should explore more boldly, increase input, and try to catch up more quickly. We need to leverage the role of APEC as a policy platform and an incubator for strengthened cooperation in such areas as the internet economy, blue economy, green economy, and urbanization, with a view to improving the region's capacity for independent innovation. Secondly, we must build an open economy. Over many years, the Asia-Pacific has pursued greater openness, greater integration, and greater development, and has found a unique path of dynamic regional economic cooperation, setting a good example of integration endeavor involving economies vastly different in their level of development. Last year, the APEC economic leaders took a historic step forward by kicking off in Beijing the Free Trade Area of the Asia-Pacific, or FTAP process. With various new regional free trade arrangements cropping up, there have been worries about the potential of fragmentation in this regard.
我们要加快
We
亚太
therefore need to accelerate the realization of FTAP and take regional economic integration forward. We need to encourage equal-footed participation and extensive consultation and make free trade arrangements open and inclusive to the extent possible, with a view to enhancing the economic openness in our region and upholding the multilateral trading regime. We must commit ourselves to win-win cooperation, oppose protectionism, and promote fair competition. Thirdly, we must implement the Sustainable Development Agenda. An ancient Chinese philosopher remarked that the key to running a country is to make its people better off. The ultimate aim of development is to serve the people by bringing more and more fruits of development to all of our people. Not long ago, the UN Sustainable Development Summit adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. At the G20 summit in Antalya, I called on the members of the G20 to take active actions and implement the Sustainable Development Agenda in a good way. To this end, we need to incorporate the Sustainable Development Agenda into our respective national development strategies and ensure its effective implementation. It's important that we establish an all-round partnership on development and mobilize the government, enterprises, and social resources in concerted efforts for implementation of the Sustainable Development Agenda. It is necessary to promote inclusive and harmonious development and meet the targets of the Sustainable Development Agenda as soon as possible, and in so doing, create more room for better quality and efficiency of development, and make sure that these tasks can mutually reinforce each other. Fourthly, we must promote connectivity. Connectivity will make the Asia-Pacific economy more vibrant, and this, in turn, will increase potential in economic and social development. Connectivity focuses on infrastructure, rules and institutions, personnel movement, the three-in-one connectivity, and calls for progress in policy communication, infrastructure linkage, trade flow, financing arrangements, as well as the friendly exchanges between the people. It's important that through connectivity efforts, countries can align their national development strategies, plans, and programs, and accurately identify priority areas and projects. Through connected efforts, regions and countries can conduct trade in production factors, complement each other's industrial advantages and production capacity, and learn from each other's development experience. The supply chain, the industry chain, and the value chain of the Asia-Pacific need to be improved so as to achieve economy of scale and combined effects, which will serve the interests of the overall invigoration of the Asia-Pacific economy. Last year, we adopted in Beijing the APEC Connectivity Blueprint. This connectivity blueprint needs to be earnestly followed through in order to achieve tangible results. Even the shortest journey can't be finished without taking the first step. Even the most trivial task can't be completed without taking actions. No blueprint will just automatically come true. When it comes to realizing the goals we set, all APEC members need to work hand in hand. And we must step up policy dialogue and coordination and use APEC as a platform to create synergy. We must focus on development and spare no effort to foster an environment of peace conducive to development and never allow anything to disrupt the Asia-Pacific development process. We must adhere to the concept of win-win cooperation and community of shared future, cooperating while competing, and achieving common development through cooperation. We must recognize diversity in development paths, respect each other's development paths chosen in light of our specific conditions, and resolve differences through dialogue and consultation. I am confident that the vast Pacific Ocean will become a bridge of cooperation, a bond of friendship, and a place we call our common home. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, as the world's second largest economy, China's economy is very much drawing the attention of people. This year, with global growth slowing down, China is working vigorously to overcome difficulties and meet challenges by strengthening macro regulation and effectively advancing reforms. Some economic indicators have somewhat fluctuated between months and quarters, but the overall economy has operated within the reasonable range and maintained steady and fairly rapid growth. In the first 3 quarters, China's economy grew by 6.9%, contributing about 30% to global economic growth. When the economy slows down, the contribution ratio still stands at 30%. Well, of course, in the past, it could be 50%. And such a growth was achieved by a big economy of over $10 trillion. And it is achieved in the process of economic restructuring and transformation. That is, the previous double-digit growth of the China's economy in absolute terms may not be as big in absolute terms, which is represented by 7% of China's economic growth. And such a result has not come easily. In general, China's positive economic fundamentals and long-term trajectory remain unchanged. What also remain unchanged are the basic facts that China's economy has strong resilience, great potential, and ample room for maneuver. The strong support and the conditions favorable for continued growth has not changed. And the forward movement of the country's economic restructuring and upgrading have not changed. On the other hand, China's economy is still coping with a complicated internal and external environment, considerable downward pressure, and the throes or temporary pains of deep reforms. These opportunities are unprecedented, and these challenges are also unprecedented.
Recently, the 5th plenum of the 18th CPC Central Committee adopted the proposal for the 13th Five-Year Plan on Economic and Social Development, putting forth the concept of innovative, coordinated, green, open, and shared development. It also proposed a series of major reforms in the next 5 years, which will be the final stage of our quest for a society of initial prosperity in all respects. By 2020, we need to complete the building of a moderately prosperous society. In other words, we need to double our 2010 GDP and our per capita income by 2020. We will step up reform and innovation, accelerate the shift of growth model and economic restructuring, address the difficult issues in development, cultivate new drivers and new edges for development, and create fresh opportunities for development. We will pay still more attention to efficiency and quality. We will work hard to shift the growth model from expanding scale to improving structure, from factor-driven to innovation-driven, and from depending mainly on investment and export to relying on coordinated increase in consumption, investment, and export. We will work for a deeper convergence of IT application and industrialization, a sound interaction of industrialization and urbanization. In the future, urbanization will increase by 2% on a yearly basis. We will also promote a sound interaction of industrialization and urbanization, and the mutual reinforcement of urbanization and agricultural modernization. All these will bring new development drivers and greater room for China's growth. We will pay still more attention to innovation. As we transition from the old engines to the new engines, we will vigorously implement the strategy of innovation-driven development, lay greater emphasis on innovation, and harness its multiplier effect in boosting growth. We will remove institutional obstacles and let the market be the decisive force in allocating innovation resources, and let the enterprises really be the key players in technological innovation. We will pay still more attention to equity and justice. Always bearing in mind the most direct and immediate interest of the people, we will build a new development mechanism that features equity, justice, joint efforts, and sharing of benefits by all, so as to make the economic development more inclusive. While making a bigger pie, we will divide the pie more fairly. We will concentrate our efforts on some tough issues. In the past decades, we lifted 600 to 700 million Chinese people out of poverty. This is in itself a major contribution to human progress. In the next 5 years, all the remaining 70 million plus rural people living below China's current poverty line will be lifted out of poverty. This will also be an important part of our efforts to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We will pay still more attention to green development. We will make ecological progress part and parcel of the entire process of our economic and social development, with a view to achieving sustainable development. We will strengthen our capacity to adapt to climate change. In this regard, we are also stepping up international cooperation. For example, we issued a joint presidential statement on climate change with the United States, and we also issued a joint statement with France on climate change. We will stick to our basic state policy of resource conservation and environment protection, and turn China into a beautiful country with blue sky, green land, and clear water. We will pay still more attention to opening to the outside world. While pushing for a more proactive strategy of opening up, we will build a new system of open economy with an even higher level of openness. We will accelerate efforts to build high-standard FTAs. The negotiations for upgrading the China-ASEAN FTA are almost completed and will soon produce positive results. The China-Australia FTA and the China-ROK FTA are expected to take effect by the end of the year, creating new drivers for economic growth. We are also ready to work with relevant parties to conclude the RCEP negotiations at an early date and speed up negotiations for FTA between China, Japan, and ROK. We will step up reforms of the foreign investors management system, substantially cut restrictions on market access for foreign investment, improve IPR protection, and foster an open, transparent, fair, and highly efficient market environment. Here, I would like to reiterate that China's policy on welcoming foreign investment will not change, nor will its protection of the legitimate rights and interests of foreign invested companies, or its commitment to provide better services for them. China's door to the outside world will forever stay open. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, China is a member of the Asia-Pacific family. We began our development here, and we owe our development to the Asia-Pacific. We will continue to anchor ourselves here and deliver benefits to the region. 2 years ago, I proposed the initiative of jointly building the Silk Road Economic Belt and the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road. The initiative has since received warm responses from and active participation by over 60 countries and international organizations. The Belt and Road Initiative is gaining momentum and achieving some initial results. Committed to open regionalism, China has signed cooperation agreements with many countries in and beyond the region to harmonize our policies and development strategies and facilitate free and orderly flow of economic factors, more efficient allocation of resources, and deeper integration of the markets. Through implementing the Belt and Road Initiative, we will go for even broader, deeper, and more sophisticated cooperation at the regional level, and jointly foster a regional framework of open, inclusive, balanced, and mutually beneficial cooperation. At present, some key economic corridors and a large number of major multilateral and bilateral projects are making steady headway. China has established and put into operation the Silk Road Fund and is now working actively with more than 50 countries to prepare the launching of the AIIB, a new type of investment and financing institution that is expected to be officially up and running by the end of this year. It will provide financing support for a number of important projects. What is more, we will gradually put into place some new cooperation platforms in such priority areas as economy and trade, energy investment, and people-to-people and cultural exchanges, and work to reinvigorate the existing bilateral and multilateral mechanisms. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, The Asia-Pacific business communities represent a principal force for development in the region and a pioneer in innovation and entrepreneurship. Having made significant contribution to regional prosperity and development, you carry an important mission in shaping the region's future. We welcome your continued participation in China's development for shared opportunities and benefits. We also look forward to your greater contribution to the region's long-term economic development and to the strong, sustainable, and balanced growth of the world economy. Next September, China will host the 11th G20 summit in the city of Hangzhou, Zhejiang Province. I welcome the active participation of Asia-Pacific business communities in the events in China, where all can share their ideas and help build a stronger world economy. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the keynote speech by President Xi Jinping is indeed very insightful and inspiring. It presented a new vision for Asia-Pacific cooperation and charted a new path for Asia-Pacific to play a leading role in the world, and also outlined the new ideas, new measures, and new opportunities for China's future development. It further strengthened our confidence in realizing win-win cooperation and development. So let us once again thank President Xi Jinping with a warm round of applause.